What's up, everybody? I'm back with another video, and Kevin, what's it called? The Kevin Durant trade to Phoenix that happened a couple of days ago has really got me thinking. As it is really the end of the Brooklyn Nets' opportunity to become a super team, and it really got me thinking about super teams as a whole and how high risk, high reward they really are. And, the Nets are not the only example. The NBA is not the only example. I got a few other examples, some that have worked a little bit better than the Nets for sure. They lost Kyrie a little while back, and now they've lost KD too to the Suns. So, rip the Nets' chances, but and their attempt to become a super team is it's a pretty good arc at what a super team really is, and it starts with not being great. The Nets weren't a great team before; they were pretty mediocre, especially after leaving New Jersey and actually moving to Brooklyn and becoming the Nets. They weren't that great of a team. So then they move to Brooklyn, and they're not great. And I guess ownership made a huge move a couple of years ago only to try and revive this team and become a super team. They get Durant, they get Kyrie, they got Andre Drummond, they got Blake Griffin, they got a whole host of other players, superstars or big names and whatever, and in their own regard, and try to load it up. Well, we know how that went. Outside of Durant, the rest of the players were not great. They didn't do very well at all. And eventually, a lot of them either just became free agents again, or got traded, or just quit. And then they were left a hollow shell and hanging on, and now they're gone. And that's the first thing. That's the first problem I have with super teams. The first problem is you bring in a bunch of superstars; they have no chemistry together. The Nets are great example of this. And not all teams are going to be like that. But I think Andre Drummond came from the Pistons, and then he goes to Cleveland, and then he gets shipped off to Brooklyn, and he really couldn't find a role. Blake Griffin, inconsistent as hell player, couldn't find a role being a bench rider when he was used to being a starter. Durant is again the example because is the outlier here because it's Kevin Durant. Kyrie is Kyrie. I believe he's the Kanye West of sports. So he is also kind of out there. Wouldn't really fit in any system. I don't think he's going to fit well in the Dallas' system either. But, he's going to go there. And we've seen, and it just, you just throw a bunch of these players together. It's good on paper. It's just not going to work. It's not very high probability that it's going to be executed. Second is, it's high risk, high reward because you load up a super team. A lot of them are probably in the later part of the career, looking for a new identity, maybe on a downslide, and looking for a high of awesomeness again before probably calling it quits. The Nets were doing this, and also you remember the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were doing this too. Tom Brady goes to Tampa and brings with him Rob Gronkowski. They get Leonard Fournette from the Jaguars, and they also, throw in the system Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, to load up the receiving core. They bring in a bunch of guys on defense to try and win a championship because, again, the Bucs were a team that weren't that great. They were riding, ever since their first Super Bowl win, they had been riding the mediocre to the tank division, not tank division, I guess now they're a tank division, but tank status, and they really just weren't that relevant or that great. Then they bring in all these great players, and what do? They go out and win a ring. But now look at the Buccaneers. Gronk retired after one more season because he got injured. Mike Evans has been injured. Godwin, I think, is gone. Brady's now gone, maybe. And, a lot of these other players, and a lot of these defensive guys are going or are in free agency trouble. And what does Tampa do? They had a 12-4 season, or 12 and 12-win season, made it to the divisional round, and then lost the Rams last year and lost a bunch of players. This year they made the wild card round because, again, they're in tank division. And now they got eliminated in the first round, and now they're even deeper shit. I don't see them making the playoffs for a while unless they make another big splash. And then also the LA Rams. They're a little bit more of a unique case because they had made the Super Bowl prior to doing this big splash of buying a bunch of players to get into a super team. But they wanted to because they felt like their window was closing for a good opportunity under the management and players that they already had, because they wasted the opportunity, scoring 3 points in 2019. So then they go and face New England and do that, and so then they trade Goff to the Lions for Stafford. They back up the defense and Ndamukong with Aaron Donald, and they help Cooper Kupp with OBJ coming in, and they load up Von Miller, and what do? They go win a ring in last year. They win a ring, and now look at it. I mean, some players retired. OBJ's gone. Von Miller's been injured. Stafford's been injured. Kupp's been injured. Injuries, retirements. They had to trade away a couple guys, I think, and now theirs is a little bit more injury prone, so I can't say that they're not going to win again. Stafford will be back. Kupp will be back. I just don't see them. They had their high. They got their championship, and now they're screwed long term. But at least the Bucs and the Rams got a championship out of it. They got a ring. They got their moment in fame. And that's what they're going to want to be remembered for. The Nets are going to be remembered for a horrific failure. They're not going to be remembered for a ring because they didn't get one. I think they got a 7 seed in the playoffs and lost in the first round by a sweep, and that's the best that they could do with all those great players that they brought in, and now they're stuck in hell. And also, super teams also affect the long-term future, I think, because you load up all these guys, and what do you do to get these guys? You either have to spend lots of money, which decreases the amount that you can sign new players for, or you got to trade players away. And usually you're not going to trade a great player for a great player because that really gets you nowhere. So you're going to trade, the next best thing you can do is trade draft picks. What happens when you trade draft picks? Well, then you get worse drafting potential. So then you have to go and you have to draft. You can't draft high-end players from college to go into the league, which takes away the potential for growth within developing new players and developing a new system. And it ruins all of that for it. Obviously not just during the time that the super team exists, but for a long time after. Because especially in the Rams case, the Rams are a perfect example of this because they had a lot of players that they had to trade draft picks for. The Goff to the Lions, that also came with draft picks, including this coming draft. That's going to be a big piece of it. And with all the other players too, they're screwed through like 2026, 2027. And so their only choice, if they want to stay relevant and try and keep winning to justify justify it, is to keep trading players for draft picks, keep trading draft picks for players. I meant, which only just keeps the cycle going. And the Nets probably are just gonna fuck it up and go tank for a while and hope for the best. The Bucs, I don't know what the Bucs are gonna do. They're kind of in the middle of that situation right now. So are the Rams, I guess, too. But I guess all of them really are. But you know what I mean. But it really just affects your long-term future. You got your championship, but you're gonna be in the basement for 20 years. Maybe not 20 years, maybe 10. I don't know. Some of these other high-end programs will probably high-end brands, I should say, will probably be okay within a few years. But it really screws you over because, especially like Sean McVay, he doesn't want to be a part of a tank team. He only wants to win. And fuck that. You don't want to be there for the highs and lows. You don't really give a shit about the team. Whatever. I don't give a fuck about that. But that's what I gotta say about that. And there's other times that this has happened. Obviously. There's times that super teams have built from within and become dynasties, obviously, such as the Patriots with Tom Brady, the Lakers with Kobe and Shaq, and a few others. But here's the thing: teams are going to continue to become super teams if there's the talents and there's the chance of a championship. They want the championship because, you don't, 20 years down the line, if you tank for 5 years, and then, people are not going to remember that, but they're going to remember the championship that came before the tanking. That's going to be still there. And that's what sucks, because I think it really kills a lot of draft potential for a lot of these players. And then they have to go off to teams like the Jets and the Knicks and the Astros. Fuck the Astros. That's my thoughts on super teams. I just wanted to get that out there, and it's a topic that's been fascinating me recently. So that's going to do it for this video, though. What are your thoughts on the super teams? What are your thoughts on all these trades with the Nets and everything? I'd like to know about it in your comments section down below. And until next time, I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.